Claude Monet has become regarded as the archetypical Impressionist painter. Born in 1840 and brought up at Le Havre in Normandy, he began to receive commissions for his work at the age of just 15. Monet decided to join the studio of Swiss-born Charles Gleyrat, a successful salon painter who, remembering his own financial difficulties as a student artist, offered models and his studio to artists for a very small fee. Monet soon became preoccupied with the effects of light on the subjects that he painted. To capture these effects, he would insist on leaving the studio and painting outside, an approach that would be much favored by Impressionist artists.
We know that Monet was a great admirer of Turner, but the freshness of working on the spot, one can say antecedents for that existed in the 18th century and the 19th century, but perhaps it was simple development of the tube of paint, which allowed artists to work out of doors.
Monet's enthusiasm and appreciation for the outside world can be summed up in his comment, "Every day I discover more and more beautiful things. It's enough to drive one mad. I have such a desire to do everything. My head is bursting with it." For some years, Monet tried to become accepted by the Salon, despite his obvious disregard for their traditions. But apart from some limited success, critics would not fully accept his style.
Delacroix could see potential within his work, but there was a lack of finish to what was acceptable at the Salon at that period in time. The looseness and the handling of the paint is so obvious that it's a brush mark. It's not trying to disguise itself. It's this movement away from illusion into having something which is what it is, a painting with paint assembled on it in a certain fashion.
Instead of the smooth surfaces in vogue at the time, Monet's broad use of a loaded brush created a rough surface texture with clearly visible strokes. In addition, and in common with many Impressionists, he had very little interest in the precise representation of detail, preferring to capture an overall effect of light and color for the viewer to appreciate. He believed that nature could change at any moment, with the passing of a cloud or a sudden change in the wind. There was therefore not enough time for the mixing of colors if the artist wanted to catch the moment as it happened. The consequent lack of finish in Monet's paintings enraged critics, who saw it as the result of sheer laziness. But despite repeated periods of near starvation, Monet maintained his artistic approach. In 1870, Monet was forced to leave France to avoid involvement in the Franco-Prussian War, and he moved to London, not the only Impressionist artist to do so, as we shall see. It was in London that he met art dealer Paul Durand-Ruel, a man who felt sympathy with Monet's aims, and who would become one of the greatest champions of the Impressionists. But with the end of the war, Paris would once again become the hub for Monet and his contemporaries, whose work would soon receive a full public display for the first time. Tired of repeated salon rejections, the artists who would become known as Impressionists decided to present their own exhibition in the unlikely surroundings of a photographer's studio on the Boulevard des Capucines. On the 15th of April, 1874, the world received its first view of Impressionist art. On display were works by Monet, Renoir, Degas, and Pissarro, among others.